Indoctrination. Now, that's a powerful word, right? And it is right at the very heart of a new executive order that's really shaking things up in K-12 education here in the U.S. So today, we're going to unpack Executive Order 14190 piece by piece and figure out what it could actually mean for classrooms, teachers, and of course, students all across the country. In this order, it does not waste any time getting to the point. I mean, right there in the purpose section, it lays out its core belief that schools are actively indoctrinating children and that parents are being shut out of the process. This one sentence, you guys, it frames the entire debate and it really sets the stage for the massive changes this order is trying to make. Okay, so to really get our heads around this thing, we need to look at it from two different angles. First, we're going to put on our policy analyst hats and dig deep into the what. The nitty-gritty details of the language and how it's all supposed to work. But then we're going to switch gears completely and explore the so what, the real-world, human impact on students and teachers and families. This two-part approach, it's going to give us the complete picture. All right, so what's on the docket? We'll kick things off with a big picture, then we'll zoom right in on the fine print. We're going to look at how this order defines indoctrination, what it's trying to do with patriotic education, and how it's already starting to make waves out in the real world. By the end of this, I promise you'll have a super clear understanding of what this order is, what it does, and why it really, really matters. So this executive order was signed on January 29th, 2025, and its whole reason for being is to tackle what it calls radical indoctrination in our K-12 schools. So what's the game plan here? Well, the order basically has a three-pronged attack: prohibit, enforce, and promote. It bans certain topics, creates a task force to make sure schools are playing by the new rules, and this is a big one, it dangles the threat of cutting off federal funding. And as we're about to see, it also brings a pretty controversial commission back to life to push its own vision of American history. Okay, time to put on our analytical hats and get into the weeds. When you're talking about policy, every single word counts. So we're going to take a really close look at the exact language of the order to figure out how this machine actually works. To really get how this order is going to function, we absolutely have to start with its definitions. These terms are the building blocks for everything else: what's allowed, what isn't, and how it's all going to be enforced. And this is where things get really interesting. The order uses this very broad definition of discriminatory equity ideology to cast an incredibly wide net. It's the legal tool it uses to ban specific concepts like white privilege or unconscious bias, basically by arguing they all fall under this big umbrella of grouping people and minimizing merit. The sheer breadth of this definition is totally key to understanding the order's potential reach. The order also gets very specific in defining social transition. It lists things like using new names, new pronouns, and accessing different facilities. So the really crucial point here is that the text is crystal clear. This definition does not include any chemical or surgical procedures. It's focused entirely on the social side of identity expression inside a school. Okay, so we've looked at the what, now let's pivot to the so what. How does all this policy jargon actually translate to the real world? It's time to connect the dots and see what this all means for the people on the front lines, the teachers and the students in the classroom every single day. The order tells the Attorney General to coordinate actions against any teachers who unlawfully facilitate a social transition. So, the giant question in the room is, what does that actually mean for a teacher in their day-to-day job? And this is where the rubber really meets the road. We are talking about everyday interactions. A supportive chat with a school counselor, simply using a student's chosen name. But as you can see right here, the order connects these actions to incredibly serious legal charges, like practicing medicine without a license and even sexual exploitation of a minor. The stakes could not possibly be higher. So the order is really clear about what it wants to take out of the classroom, but it's just as clear about what it wants to put in. And that brings us to the second major part of its mission, a big push for what it calls patriotic education. And the order is very, very specific about what this patriotic education should look like. The keywords to focus on are unifying, inspiring, and ennobling. The whole focus is on celebrating America's greatness, which, of course, raises some big questions about how the more complex or controversial parts of our nation's history would be taught. The main engine for this mission is the 1776 Commission. And this timeline, it shows its politically charged journey. It was created in one administration, then terminated by the next, and now it's been brought back by this new order. Its revival is now tied to advising on the upcoming 250th anniversary of American independence. So we've gone through the text, we've looked at the intent, but what has been the immediate real-world impact? Let's take a look at some of the documented responses from different institutions. Pretty soon after the order was signed, PBS Learning Media, which is a huge resource for teachers, removed all of its educational materials on LGBTQ+ topics. That even includes historical events like the Stonewall riots. And then the parent company, PBS, also closed its DEI office. These actions show a direct and pretty rapid response to the new federal policy. And this really brings us to the heart of the whole thing. The order creates this fundamental tension. It's a push and a pull between two competing visions of education, one that wants to remove what it labels divisive ideologies, and another that's actively promoting a very specific, and some would argue, ideological version of American history. And that leaves us all with one central question that gets right to the core of this entire debate. It's not just about what is taught, but who gets to decide. Who should be the ultimate authority when it comes to defining patriotism for the millions of students sitting in America's classrooms?